Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to my peeps, wherever you are in the world. This is Old Man Yummy M signing on. And Marvel's Avengers Endgame is coming out on April 26, 2019. And people are very excited to see part two of what was called Avengers Infinity War. I did a reaction to the ending of Avengers Infinity War because I'm not a Marvel movie fan. I'm more of a DC kind of guy, like Superman, Batman, those kind of that superhero comic book kind of stories. But I was thinking, it's been 10 years since Iron Man, the first Iron Man came out in 2008. And I was thinking to myself, are people getting marveled out? Are people getting tired of watching, going to the movies and watching Marvel movies? Seeing Iron Man over again, seeing Thor, you know, what's her name, Black Widow, and the Hulk, and are people getting tired of just seeing these characters? They've been seeing these characters for over 10 years, you know, and do you think that they are wanting to see what DC has to offer? Since DC had, I say four successful movies. Well, say four. No, it's been about. Let's say you got Man of Steel, which is my favorite movie. Then you have Aquaman, and then you have Wonder Woman. So it's three. So they had three successful movies. Of course, The Dark Knight. I'm not counting those movies. I'm counting the ones that they are stating that are in the DCEU. But like I said, do you think people are being are kind of marveled out? Seeing these characters, over and over again. You know what I'm saying? But I uh, found an article from whatculture.com. Whatculture.com. They have their channel on YouTube, which is a great channel. They started off as a wrestling channel, but now they have expanded into doing more like movies, games, and more things than wrestling. So I think that's a good route that they have taken. But I want to go ahead and read this article. They said there are 10 things which will identify that you are tired of Marvel movies. I only seen Avengers Infinity War, so I don't know nothing about none of those Marvel movies. Spider-Man is good. Spider-Man is like a good movie. I haven't seen the new one, but the ones that came out before then were Spider-Man 2 was like the best one. But let's go ahead and just read this article, about the 10 reasons why people are getting tired of Marvel movies. So let's check this out right quick. Okay, so it says 10 reasons you're getting tired of Marvel movies. Okay, got Marvel fatigue? You are not alone. So let's go ahead and read this and see what it has to say. Okay, so it says, shoot. Okay, let me get to it. Okay, so it says, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the Starbucks of film franchises, a brand that became famous for giving the public what it wanted while using its huge profits to spread its influence across the globe. Whether in print, on television, or at a local multiplex, the mighty Marvel is inescapable. This is both a good and bad thing. Good because at the time of writing, Marvel Studios had yet to produce as soulless a picture as George Lucas' Howard the Duck. Bad because Jennifer Lawrence, fans know, familiarity breeds contempt. And it continues to say, since 2008, there have been 11 MCU features with another 11 slated for future releases. 2014 gave us Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy, which presented them gross $1.5 billion. If the MCU were sugar, your mother would freak out. Huh? Funny, I guess. Funny. But it continues on and says, as Brian Greene, who wrote Dead of Night, Devil Slayer for Marvel's Max imprint, points out, there are only so many stories you can tell within a fictional universe. Once you reach a certain point, all gives way to banality, and as desperation sets in, the whole lumbering mess tumbles into self-parody. To follow, you will find 10 reasons why the mighty Marvel should consider taking a sabbatical after the completion of Phase 3. See, and that's one thing, is like I said, is that there have been 10 years of Marvel movies. There are so many movies that you can tell, with these characters. I think from what I've known, I think everybody had a sequel except for Black Widow and Hawkeye, so they never had any movies. But from what I heard is that they were talking about giving the movies. Who's going to actually, go and see a Black Widow movie? I mean, really? I mean, are you sure you're going to see a Black Widow movie? Are you sure about that? Black Widow doesn't have any superpowers. She's just a assassin, that can shoot real well and have good combative skills. You know what I'm saying? So the only reason why it seems to me that anybody puts up with her, because she's surrounded by people that does have powers, and some people have that can get inside of robot machines and fly, and and some people turn into big monsters and fight, are strong and stuff like that. I think that's the only reason why most of you guys even put up with people that doesn't have any powers in this Marvel universe. But if it was a standalone movie, I don't think you guys will go and watch it unless one of the Marvel characters that did have superpowers, that was included in her movie. I think that's the only reason why you'll watch it. But let's go ahead and check out and see the 10 reasons why they said you will get tired of the Marvel universe. Okay, so it says Marvel fatigue is setting in. Okay, so Marvel fatigue is setting in. Like I said, it's been 10 years, since these movies came out. With Captain America, Iron Man and all that shit. But it says, reviewing Captain America, The Winter Soldier, critic Kenneth Turan diagnosed himself as suffering from a frightening disease, one that can strike suddenly without a whisper of warning. It's called Marvel fatigue. According to Turan, clinicals have defined the ailment as a bone weariness at having the relentless of MCU pound this formulaic product at you, film after film after film, for what seems like forever. Symptoms include a mounting sense of horror at the prospect of the franchise continuing ad infinitum. In discovering and exploiting a foolproof formula, Turan says Marvel just wants to be like the evil folks at Hydra and rule the world the way things are going. He concludes they have a good shot at it. Well, you mean Disney would like to rule the world because Disney is the ones that owns Marvel, and they own Star Wars, my favorite franchise of all time, but like he said, film after film after film, man. You know what I'm saying? These movies, don't really have any certain type of 2-year gap. It's like it's a Marvel movie after another. You know what I'm saying? One after the other, one after the other. I don't think there's 1 year. There's not been 1 year that a Marvel movie hasn't came out in these past 10 years. There was not a 2-year gap. So it's year after year after year there was a Marvel movie, that came out. So, like I said, there's only too many stories that you could tell, when it comes to this MCU universe. Too many one-dimensional villains. Okay, so it says too many one-dimensional villains. So it says in the MCU, it's reasonable. Oh, damn. Sorry, y'all. I'm going up a little bit too much. It says in the MCU, to assume that when you see a familiar actor portraying a nerd or speaking with a foreign accent, that means he's looking to pick a fight with a superhero. Usually, his motives are fairly murky. In Iron Man 3, Aldrich Killian destroys Tony Stark's home, kidnaps the president, and pins the blame on a drug-addicted actor, telling the president, "I just needed a reason to kill you that would play well on TV." Not really understanding what that means, but I guess they means that the villains that are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are not that well put together. They probably have supervillains that, don't give you a real reason why they do the things that they do. They just, just villains that has a stupid, stupid reason for being a villain. That's just something that's just put together real fast, just to have a supervillain. They may have everything else in order, in order when it comes to the superhero, but when it comes to a specific villain, they really don't have it together. So that could be a reason why. And then it says what? No more believable than Ivan Vanko, who, because he holds Starks responsible for his father's death, attacks him in the middle of the Monaco Grand Prix with electrified whips, which turns out to be more than a good way of getting captured while simultaneously making a fool of himself. So there was a villain that had whips. That was an Iron Man villain. He only had like electrical whips. What kind of fucking villain is that? I mean, if Iron Man, he's a dude that fly, he has all his technology, he's a millionaire, shouldn't he have somebody that's able to combat with him, and might as well say equally, combating to him equally or a little bit that's a little bit more powerful than Iron Man when you make these movies? Kind of shit is that? A dude with iron whips. One of which iron that must be that, I don't know, it must be Iron Man 1. But that's kind of stupid. Dude ain't even equal to Iron Man, that sounds like. Okay, and then it says number 8. It says number 8 that they emphasize marketing over storytelling. Now that's something that Star Wars did. Star Wars did the same fucking thing. Is that they really didn't, is when it came to episode 8, and you know, they really didn't give a shit about any storytelling. All they really cared about was marketing the movie, getting the movie out there, conning people to watch that bull crap and make money off of it. But it says for number 8, from a marketing perspective, a series of hype-driven, interconnected movies aimed at a particular demographic or a dream. A chance for media conglomerates to work together to promote linked products across different media. Each new film hypes up the next one, which in turn hypes the DVD release, and so on. For an audience member, it quickly becomes clear that Marvel is more interested in synergy than in organic storytelling. Iron Man 2 was sluggish, light on plot, but was a great trailer for Thor. Captain America, the first Avengers, stretched the origin story so far that it's almost snapped, but it was a great trailer for the Avengers. Then it says it's the school of screenwriting and producers like Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer popularized in the 1980s, shaping the material to meet audience expectations and leaving it open to encourage sequels. The problem, as Simpson and Bruckheimer discovered, is that the law of dismissing returns means it's a swift descent from Beverly Hills Cop to Days of Thunder. So that means is that they were hyping it up. You know, they were sticking like these end credit scenes in, you know, in the movie that didn't do so good to get it hyped for the next movie. And that's what it seems like, because that's what I was hearing, is that always at the end credit scene is that it get it hyped for the next movie. End credit scene get it hyped for the next movie, then it gets hyped for, you know, a group movie, and then the group movie gets it hyped for another standalone film. So it seems as though that's what they do, is that they, even though the movie probably was shit, you know, they stick that end credit scene to get you ready for that next film so that you can go ahead and see it. So, hey, that's a good marketing strategy. You can't knock that one. But, hey, you know, like I said, is that if you like, you know, the MCU, is that you will go watch these movies. You know what I'm saying? If you're just a regular consumer, you'll just, you know, you'll just go see the movie, you know, just to see the movie and see how it is, you know. But there are more Marvel movie fans, you know, that will feed into the end credit scenes and to get hyped for the next movie. So yeah, because that's what all I was hearing, is that that's what they were doing, is that they was sticking that shit in for the next movie, getting the next movie hyped. So let's see what number 7 has to say. Number 7, Deja Vu. And then it says, so this is number 7, Deja Vu. Avengers Age of Ultron delivers exactly what you'd expect from Marvel, but whether or not that's a good thing, that depends on upon your point of view. There isn't very much here that hasn't already been mined in previous films. There's a robot army, the expected bickering between the main characters, plus a love interest is introduced to humanize one of the Avengers. Friends become enemies and enemies become friends, with one character making a heroic sacrifice at a key moment. It builds to an overly familiar city, destroying final confrontation, which is the franchise's problem in a nutshell. If you save the Earth once already, the repetition has a numbing effect. So it seems like all of these movies always threaten to destroy planet Earth. They never went outside of the planet Earth. They always stand on the planet Earth. They never go out into space or anything like that to see any other, see other life forms or anything like that, any other planets or anything like that. You may get that from a few movies, but most of the movies that's in the MCU is that the villain is trying to either rule the world, rule the planet Earth, or destroy it. So, and it says that there's always a rope. They said that their friends become enemies and enemies become friends, and then there's a love interest that will, make make all of the the bickering and all of this stuff come. They make them, the people that don't like each other, come together, and then they fight together, and then they save the world, and then that's the end of it. That's garbage, man. Yeah, I'm tired of movies where they always, they always got to save the Earth, and then then the enemies, the enemy ain't shit, and just bullshit, man. It's really seemed like it's like it said, it's repetitive. It's repetitive shit. Everybody always trying to destroy the world and shit. Stupid, man. Okay, so this is number 6. There's a lack of resonance. Lack of resonance. So it says they called popcorn movies for a reason. Like the stuff sold at the concession stand, they're not meant to last. But that doesn't mean that they have to be disposable, that you forget them in the time that it takes them to leave the cinema. Okay, so the trouble with interconnected movies is that the characters and situations become overly familiar, and the familiar tends not to resonate. Girlfriends and or children are there to be kidnapped by henchmen, and on the rare occasions that the good guy dies, he does so heroically and is able to make one last speech, before they die. Oh, tell my dear Emma I love her. I always did. And then they die or some shit like that, So it says whether certain characters are on screen, the outcome is never in doubt, while others might as well wear Star Trek red t-shirts. I guess they say because red t-shirts, Star Trek, people in the red Star Trek t-shirts always die. So if you see anybody in a movie, in a Star Trek movie, or if you see anyone that's in a Star Trek TV show wearing a red t-shirt, best believe they're the ones that's going to get killed in the movie or in the TV show. To paraphrase Stan Lee, if you don't care about the characters, it's less a movie than a business deal. So that's where that is with that shit. Now let's see what number 5 has to say. The obligatory Stan Lee cameos. Well, Stan Lee is dead, so rest in peace, Stan Lee. So we ain't gonna read that one. They can go. That one's That's uh, that's null and void because Stan Lee has passed away. So, in respect to Stan Lee, we're not gonna read that. And number 4, it says the MCU is starting to resemble Transformers. Oh, Jesus! If you start to resemble Transformers, Transformers is horrible, so terrible. After 2, I stopped watching them. After Transformers, what was it? Uh, Rise, was it Rise of the Fallen or some shit like that? I stopped watching that shit. That shit was horrible. You couldn't even see which Transformer was fighting who. You didn't know. You didn't know what was going on. Shaky cam, all of that. You didn't know what was going on. All you knew is that they was. All you could really see is when they transform. Other than that, you couldn't understand nothing else that was going on in the Transformer movie. But people like it in China. But it says when the Incredible Hulk reached the screens in 2008, critic Leonard Maltin commented that the climatic confrontation was reminiscent of Transformers, another movie that concluded with a monster smackdown in the city street. 2 years later, adding fuel to Maltin's argument, Iron Man 2 concluded with a Hulk fight against a robot army midway through Avengers: Age of Ultron. Iron Man and Hulk have not so friendly tussle and demolishes several buildings, but is treated as a harmless joke before the city's destroying final confrontation, which pretty much the same as the one in the first movie. Michael Bay's film attempt to top their predecessors by staging more of the same over and over again, believing that the excess of noise and special effects are worth more than the characters and dialogue and profits are enough to silence his distractors. Nothing something anyone wants to see Marvel attempt to emulate. Well, it does seem as though is that people don't get hurt, something like that in these movies or something, because I know in Man of Steel, people was dying, people were getting killed. You knew that when you seen how the way the city Metropolis was destroyed. Okay, so that says number 3. We're gonna go to number 3. Number 3, Marvel movies only reference Marvel movies. Okay, so they showing all of the phases that all of the Marvel movies came out. I don't know how y'all still like this shit. You know what I mean? To me, it seems like it's terrible. But it says Kevin Smith, when Kevin Smith began using his own movies as reference points and started bringing characters together the way he did in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, shit. He was savaged by Leonard Maltin, who called the picture a giant in-joke comedy where the people on screen are clearly having a better time than we are in the audience. It's apt that Smith, a comics fan who appeared in Daredevil, should have created his own fictional universe, or telling that after a few movies he decided to shelve it and concentrate on other projects. All this endless self-referencing guarantees is uniformity of product. Whether the director is an Oscar winner or a novice attempting his first blockbuster, the end result is like watching episodic television. Well, that's why I say is that they don't give these movies some certain type of hiatus. You know what I'm saying? They need to go ahead and have these movies like let people miss these movies. You know what I'm saying? When you do it too much, people gonna get tired of it. Okay, so number 2, for the sake of the plot, characters repeat the same mistakes. Okay, so it says, you think that after Bruce Banner's fateful encounter with gamma radiation, inhabitants of the MCU would have learned a lesson about the dangers of technology. But if they had Marvel screenwriters would have faced serious problems. Tony Stark, in particular, has a problem learning from his past mistakes. Every time he encounters a new supervillain, it's only a matter of time before they either build a bigger, better man Iron Suit or come up with a way of stealing the Iron Patriot armor. In fact, given his background, Stark's the latest person to whom you entrust a peacekeeping program, because once he gets it operational, you know it's going to create a supervillain called Ultron, who has a robot army that only Earth's mightiest heroes can stop. Oh, yeah, the way this shit sound, I'm sorry, don't get me wrong, the Infinity War was the ending, I like the ending. The ending was pretty good. I guess because, that the superheroes were not indestructible. They was able to be killed. You know what I'm saying? And, to where, everything it wasn't perfect. So let's see here. Number 1, it isn't fun anymore. And it says, sorry, Marvel. But if you're going to continue to recycle plot lines, have characters who should known better in foolish ways to make $200 million trailers, then we're going to have to discuss the possibility of trial separation, because the thrill is gone out of the relationship. It's bad enough that Iron Man 3 took so long to get to the point, but all those metal suits wishing through the air reminded us of Iron Man 2. And by the way, what were you thinking when you revealed the Mandarin's true identity? If we didn't know director Shane Black also worked on Last Action Hero, we'd able to guess from that scene. The bigger, longer, and less rewarding the movies become, the more it seems likely that a Last Action Hero star bust is on the cards. With this big budget, big stars, and A-list director, that movie looked great on paper, but there was no substance, no soul, and nothing worth paying to see. So to me, it seems as though the MCU repeats its stories. MCU repeats their stories. They don't learn from their mistakes. They do the same shit over and over and over again. They don't have good villains. They don't make these villains equally match with the protagonist, which is stupid. But, people that are diehard fans are going to look over this shit. They're going to look over it. They're going to take to the fact is that there is a comic book movie, on the silver screen, and they are willing to see where it's going to take to open up the next movie at the end credit scene. So, see, that's what I'm saying, man. That certain type of stuff, yeah, you can't get tired of it. You know what I'm saying? It seems as though you can't get tired of having MCU universe that keeps doing the same thing. you know, that only worries about marketing than storytelling, that's not actually doing a good job. I bet you, I bet you most of these movies that came out from the MCU aren't that good. I bet you they ain't. I bet you some of the Iron Man movies. I bet you the Thor movies. Uh, I bet you some of the Thor movies. Who else had a movie? Um, Maybe Captain America. Because that uh, something that's probably something that's different to where he is able to fight with somebody that is equally matched with them. That's probably different. But whoever else had a movie that's in the with the Avengers or whatever, you know, they are the ones that actually didn't have really good movies. So I just want to say like I said, I want to see what DC is going to take their movies. Man of Steel was great. Oh, that's one of my favorite movies that came out that is part of the DCEU. I did like the ending of Avengers Infinity War. I didn't understand what was going on when I watched the movie, but it had some good parts in it. Don't get me wrong, but the ending was good to see all of them together and to see them fight, a bigger threat, which was to destroy the world, like they said. Like they said, it's like a repetitive process. Best believe in all these other MCU movies, that's what the motive was, or to rule the world, or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Got to start taking the movies out of space somewhere. Not always staying in on Earth all the goddamn time. People get tired of that shit, and hopefully that the DCEU does not stick with that shit of sticking to somebody destroying the Earth and taking over the Earth and all of this stuff. We're already seeing that in Man of Steel, seen that in Wonder Woman. No, not Wonder Woman, Aquaman. Oh yeah, and Wonder Woman too. You know what I'm saying? Please take that shit somewhere else. If you stay with Earth, concentrate on, fighting each other, but not having the main reason is to rule the world or destroy the Earth or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Fuck all that shit. I saw Shazam. Shazam was good. Shazam wasn't like that. Shazam was all about the dude trying to spoiler. So the dude wanted to have Shazam powers. That was it. That was all. That's why Shazam was good. Because it wasn't about no dude trying to rule the world, take over the Earth, and all of this shit. The dude wanted Shazam's powers. That's all it was all about. That's it. So please, DCEU, if you're listening, please don't make the same movies that I'm hearing that the MCU is doing. Please don't. Because you'll be on the self-destruction as well. Best believe, a lot of Marvel movie fans are getting marveled out of seeing the same repetitive ass shit. Seeing aliens coming from other planets, coming to the world, coming to the Earth to destroy the Earth or some shit. So please don't go that route. So I'm going to subscribe, like this shit, comment if you want to. What do you got to lose? So this is Old Man Yummy Yam signing off. You guys take it easy out there. Y'all be safe. Holla at your boy. Peace.
Before we do the show, we gon' hit the mile.